Hello everyone, I'm just riding the scooter again. Um, I'm basically going to test the higher voltage today again. This is just based on, my cat's coming. Hi Charlie. She does like to be on video, I think. Okay. My cat came over to say hi. Hi. As soon as I started streaming, she walked over to me, so thought I would let her be in the video here. This is basically, again, based on the basic idea of Rick Friedrich, what Rick Friedrich shares here, which is the idea of running two sets of batteries. Rick shows two 12-volt batteries, two 12-volt batteries, and usually in series and then parallel, and the higher voltage sending the charge to the lower voltage, if I'm saying that right. And then positive and positive connected to a load, and it runs the load, whether it be a light bulb or a motor. So no negative wire going to the load. And what this does is it lets, my understanding is, it lets the load be powered from energy from the vacuum. So it's a very efficient way of using a circuit. I'm going higher voltage today. I'm running, the last video I ran, I ultimately ended up trying 4 batteries in series, 4 12-volt batteries in series. I did a little bit of testing. One of my wires got real hot. I'm still using the same wire, but I'm planning to not leave my on-off switch on as long. And I'll just keep touching the wires and seeing if they're getting hot. I know I need thicker wires, so I'll need to do that. So just going to do some more testing today. We're going to run 4 12-volt batteries. So these 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are in series, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in parallel. So I'm going to try sending the energy back and forth between the 2 sets of batteries with the positive of each set. So the positive from the batteries in parallel and the positive of the batteries in series. So there's the white wire. These are in parallel, and this is connecting to the set in series. And we're connecting the motor or the load through that wire, which is a positive going to positive. And when you do that, my understanding is the charge transfers from one set of batteries to the other set with a little bit of losses. There'll be some losses, for charging losses, I think is how Rick explains it. I'm not sure the words he uses, but there's a little bit of losses, but that the motor actually is not taking energy from the batteries. And that's just because of the way the circuit's because of the way it's wired, which is really, really simple. And Rick has, I know I've mentioned many times, but Rick Friedrich has a video titled Simple Free Energy, and it explains all this in great detail. And Rick has a lot more knowledge and experience than I do. I'm just sharing my experience of learning about the circuit. So, I can't believe my cat's here. It's amazing. Usually she doesn't come up to me. I mean, she comes up when I'm working on the scooter, but as soon as I started rolling the stream, she came over here. Hey, Charlie. Okay, so we're going to ride the scooter. What could happen is I might melt some wires because I'm going 48 volts into, basically the 4 batteries in series makes 48 volts, and the 4 batteries in parallel, the other set, they're at 12 volts, so we're sending a high voltage through the series batteries, and these wires, I don't know what the gauge is, but it's a very thin gauge. Looking back, I think I would have got a thicker gauge wire. I'm not even sure why I got the thin gauge wire. I think I just see a lot of people using these kind of wires in a very thin wire, and I think I just got them because that's how I see them being used. I didn't think that it's better to have I wasn't thinking that, oh, it's better to have a thicker wire, and that way it's safer because it can handle more loads. But these don't take up a lot of space storage-wise. I have a lot of these. I bought many packs of these wires, but maybe they're still good for lower voltage experiments. So let's see what this does. Okay, my voltage here, 52.85. That's the voltage of these 4 batteries here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in series. And the 13.29, I don't know if that's showing up on camera. I'm gonna have to bring these meters closer somehow where they can be seen better. But this is the voltage of these batteries that are in parallel, the 4 batteries in parallel right now. And we're gonna send energy across to the other set. Let's see what the wires do. I'm hoping I don't melt them. If they do melt, there might be some sparks. And I should probably have a fire extinguisher. I just realized that that's something I need for the scooter. So I think I'll be picking one of those up soon as well. Have a little fire extinguisher on the side there. Okay. I just discovered that my wire, my positive wire, where I split the positive going through the motor, is actually on the wrong, it's flowing through the motor the wrong way, so it's trying to go backwards. So I'm going to reverse that by going, let's see, I'll put this so this is my positive from the series set to the positive of the parallel set. I'm going to reverse these. Wait a second. There's a couple ways I can do this. Maybe I'll leave this. Maybe I'll leave this and I'll just turn it, I'll change it where it's at the motor. So this is the splitting of positive that goes here then. I think I'll just reverse it where it connects to the motor. That's not going to show on camera, but it's off to the side here. And that should change the direction the motor spins, because right now it's going backwards. Okay, let's see what that does. Yeah, now it's turning the correct way. Oops. Let's see. I think I'm going to send less voltage through here. I'm going to take, yeah, I'll just do 3 batteries. I don't think, 3 wasn't getting as hot, so I'm just going to bypass one of the batteries that are in series. So let's see, let's unplug one of the series batteries here. So I need thicker wires for sure. Let's see. Oh, this is that's my meter. Okay, that's my meter wire. Okay, this is the wire I need. The green wire is going from the negative of the parallel to the negative of the series. Okay, and I'm going to use that 4th battery. I'll just hook because I didn't have my my DC to AC converter hooked up. I didn't have that hooked up right now. I'm going to go ahead and hook that up so that I can keep my cell phone charged. That's what I'll do with that. Oops. That's just my DC to AC pure sine wave converter. Let's keep the phone going here. Okay, so that's powering the phone. And now we should have, let's see. Let's hook up this to the negative. 39.33 volts. Okay, so that, when I ran it that way, my wires weren't getting real hot, so I'll run it that way for now. Again, I'm still learning how to use this circuit, so this is just a learning process. Hi. Hi. unplugging the cell phone. I think I'm going to try using this last battery in the circuit now. See if it still has too much power to run this fourth battery in series. Maybe with the voltage being lower on the series side, maybe it won't cause as much heat. I don't know, we'll see what it does. I just want to try different things. Okay, so right now we have, all I did was add one battery. I added the battery that was charging the cell phone. I unplugged the cell phone from the battery. And now I'm, because I have a DC to AC converter. I unplugged the DC to AC converter, which was keeping my cell phone charged. I unplugged that from the battery, and I now use that battery to give us a fourth battery, like we started the stream, a fourth battery. In series. When I first did that, it was the wires got really, really hot. But I'm thinking now that we've run the voltage down on these three batteries, maybe I can do it now without as much power going through the wires. I'm just kind of checking to see what will happen. I'm just interested in seeing what it does. 49 volts, 4 batteries in series, 13.86 volts into the 1, 2, 3, 4 batteries in parallel. Positive wire from one set connected to the positive wire of the other set with that wire that connects the two sets running through the motor and running through my on and off switch, which is how I'm controlling the scooter. Okay, so I think I'm going to rewire the batteries because it's slowing down. I'm going to take the batteries that are in parallel, this one, and I'm going to put them in series, and the wires that are in series, the batteries in series, I'll wire them in parallel. And that'll transfer the charge from the batteries that were being charged, which is the batteries that are in parallel. It'll transfer that charge to the batteries that right now are in series, but will be wired into parallel. So let's do that. Okay, so let's see, these are in parallel, these are in series. So these are in parallel. Okay, so I'm going to take all the wires off. These are in parallel. Let's take all the wires off. Okay, so that last test did work. Well, by me just getting the voltage down a little bit, I was able to use the fourth battery in series. But ideally, I want to be able to start out with 4 batteries. I'm going to try right now to do that. I'm going to try having the batteries in series right away and running all that power through the battery, through the motor. Okay, so here's our positive from the series, our positive for the batteries that were in parallel, and that wire is what goes through the motor and powers it, which is amazing, because it's no negative wire. Just 2 positives powering the motor. The positive between the batteries in series and the batteries in parallel. Okay, so these batteries down here are in series right now. So now I'm going to take these wires and wire the batteries up here in series now. The ones that were being charged are now going to charge the other set. So we're sending the charge back and forth between the 2 sets of batteries. I'm still understanding this myself, so it's still new to me. But I do think that talking about it, like putting it into words, helps me understand what I'm doing. So positive to negative, positive to negative. So these were in parallel, which means they were being charged, and now they're going in series, which means that they will charge the other set of batteries. Okay. Let's see. Positive to negative, and then positive. to negative. Okay, that's 4 batteries in series. And this is my positive wire right here. This is where I split the positive. It's going to go into that battery right there, the positive. This is where we're going to get our 48 volts from the 4 batteries in series. And then the negative remains connected to, that stays. The negative that connects the 2 sets of batteries together, which is a green wire, that one will remain. And now I'm going to wire these in parallel. So parallel means that all the battery negatives connect together. All the battery negatives connect together. All these 4. Because the other 4 are in series now. And those series batteries will charge the parallel batteries at the rate of powering the motor. But the motor is powered by the same energy, as I understand it from studying Tom Bearden's research and work, and he has many videos on YouTube. We also have a playlist of Tom Bearden on our channel as well. It's titled Tom Bearden. That the energy that powers the motor when we wire a circuit this way is the same energy that powers all of matter, all atoms and molecules, as I understand it. So negative to negative, negative. So that's letting nature help us with our circuits. The traditional way of wiring a circuit is, Tom Bearden explains that it's very inefficient and it's making the circuit fight itself. Which is inefficient. Okay, I need to connect all the positives together. Positive for the batteries that are in parallel. Batteries in parallel, positives of the batteries connect to the other positive of the other battery. So we're almost done with that. I do need to look into getting some thicker wires, so I'm going to look into that later for these kind of experiments, because these wires get hot when they're in higher voltage. Okay, one more wire to go, and that's going this positive to our 4th battery, positive. Okay, so these 1, 2, 3, 4 in parallel, 1, 2, 3, 4 in series. Negative of one set connected to the negative of the other set, and the positive of one set, which is the white wire, will connect to the positive of the other set. And since these are in parallel, I guess looks like I could connect it to any of the positives. So I'll just connect it to this positive. On the series side, it has to be the positive that gives you the 48 volts. I mean, if you're running 4 of these in series. If you're running 2 in series, then it would be 24 volts. And you would connect to the positive that gives you the 24 volts. Okay, so the scooter should be ready. I'm going to make sure that the wheels turn in the correct way. Okay, so because the wheel's turning the wrong way, I'm going to just connect. I'm basically just changing which wire I'm going into on the motor is what I'm doing. So instead of going into the positive wire, I can go into the negative wire, or instead of going into the negative wire, I'm going into the positive wire, just to reverse the direction of the motor, the rotation. Rick mentioned that when you're running the circuit in series, when you're running the batteries in series, that if I recall correctly, and double check for yourself to see if this is correct, you want to run the power into the negative of the load. So the series side of the power, I think it goes into the negative side of the load. I'm just putting it in to make the wheel turn the correct way. So that's just what I'm doing right now. So I don't know if it's more efficient or what it does when you put the power going in from the series batteries, the positive going into the negative of the load. But right now I'm just trying to get the direction correct for what I'm doing. And I'm keeping in mind what Rick said, because I know there's significance to everything he says. Let's see, so now that's my, let's see, this is my series batteries. No, yeah, this is series. Yeah. And then this side will go to parallel. So this goes to A positive, okay. Okay, let's check the direction now. Yep, direction's correct. Okay, let's see how it does. I'm going to keep an eye on temperature of my series wires because they were getting hot because the gauge is not correct. It's too thin. The wires are too thin for what I'm doing. I have 4 batteries in series giving us, let me connect my needle to the series side here. Oh, I think both sides. Okay, so this one is our series voltage, which will be connect here and connect, let's see, negative, positive right here. 52.91 volts, and then I'm going to connect the parallel batteries, just like see what the average voltage is as we're charging those batteries. Let's see, negative right here, and then positive into that wire there. Okay, so we're at 12 volts exactly as the average voltage on the parallel side. So these are the batteries that were just drained. And just to check, let's see what the voltage is of the batteries on the side that was just being charged. Let's see. So the battery's being charged. They're at 13. Oops, wrong polarity. The batteries that were being charged, the last run, are at 13.35 volts. That's these batteries that are now in series. That's just the voltage of this one battery. So that's the average. That's approximately what each battery will be at. We could check that right now. So 13.35. Let's see what another one is. 13.35 exactly. Exact same voltage. Exact. And let's check this one. 13.38 and 13.37, very close together. And if I understand correctly, running a circuit in this way, if I understand correctly, and I'm still learning, so please research this for yourself, but my understanding is the batteries like running the circuit this way. It desulfates them. I think the power running through the motor, like the motor, I think that if I understand correctly, I think it creates like a voltage spike, and I think that knocks the sulfates off the batteries, if I understand correctly. Again, please confirm that with Rick Friedrich. And you can study that on his channel on YouTube. Okay, let's see what we have here. So I'm going to check the batteries now of the batteries in parallel and check those voltages. So these are the ones in parallel, or the ones that are going to be charged, receiving the charge now. 11.98, 12.02, 12.13, and the last one is 12.30. And the 12.30 was the one that I was using to charge my cell phone earlier, and I wasn't using it in the circuit, but then I started using it because I needed more power, and so now we're going to try using that one. Okay, so these are for my batteries in parallel. Okay, so that voltage, 11.98, is the average voltage of the batteries in parallel. And we're running four batteries in series and 4 batteries in parallel, with the negative from one set connected to the negative of the other set, and the positive of one set connected to the positive of the other set, and that positive wire is cut, if I say it that way, or split, and is powering our load. It can power a motor, light, and I think it can power any load, if I understand correctly. So, no negative wire required going to the motor, just a positive wire going to the motor and connecting the 2 sets of batteries together, positive to positive. And somehow it makes the motor work, and it allows, if I say it this way, it allows nature to help run the circuit, because energy, the same energy that powers all the atoms and molecules that we know of is powering the motor when you wire a circuit this way. That's how I understand Tom Bearden to explain it. So if you have more clarity on that, or would like to expand on what I'm saying, or clarify what I'm saying for me, if you see something differently, or if you understand what I'm trying to understand better than I do, please feel free to share in the comments. Once the video is posted, you should be able to post comments. I don't know if you can post comments now. I have comments turned off during the chat, the stream right now. But once the video posts, I know you can post comments, and those comments have to be approved. They'll be looked at to see if they're staying on topic and staying positive, which is a part of the journey, a part of the inspiration of what we're studying and learning and experimenting with. So, looking forward to hearing from you. And we haven't checked the comments in a while. We will be getting to them though, so if we don't get to the comment right away, please understand that we're just very busy, and we do value the positive comments, the insightful comments, and look forward to reading them. Okay, let's see what the scooter does. Let's see what it does now. I gotta be careful to not overheat my wires, because they're at 48 volts here, and that's a lot of power going through these very, very small wires, so I have to keep an eye on that. I think my light switch burned out. Oh goodness. So I heard a sound, and oh boy. I heard a sound, I don't know if you heard that. I heard like an electrical sound, and I think it might have been my on and off switch fusing inside, which when I turned it off, the scooter just kept going. So whether it was off or on, it stayed on. So I pulled one of the series wires off to interrupt the circuit. I knew to do that. I knew that this is the side charging the other side. So I just instinctively knew to do that. Thank goodness. It was a quick reflex, and I was able to stop the scooter. I had a brake too, and I hit the brake, and I was able to slow the scooter down. It's just that if I had stopped the scooter with the circuit still on, it would have heated these wires up really, really high, because it would have increased the load and put more power through these wires, and it probably would have melted them. So I just pulled this off to interrupt the circuit, and it stopped. Now I'm thinking, one thing I didn't think of bringing with me is an extra light switch. I actually didn't think I'd need one, and it might have been from the high amperage. That might have been what caused the switch to fuse like that. Okay, let's just see. Let me just make sure that the fuse did in fact fuse. Let me just see if the fuse did in fact malfunction. Let me just double check and see if it's really not working. Oh wow. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I just want to make it like it's. I can see the fuse is burnt. Yeah. Okay. That must have just been too much power for it. Okay, the fuse unstuck. I was able to unstick the light switch. I can see it's burnt. It has some black around it. It actually welded itself, into the on position. I broke it loose, and it's now working again. But here's what I'm thinking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, which is I'm going to go ahead and take one of the batteries out of series, because it seems like that's just too much power, both for that switch and for these wires, not just the switch. And I'll go ahead and run it for a while, like on 3 batteries in series, and then I'll just take this battery out of the loop here, and then these both go to negative. Give me one moment. I just had a really big, like a moth, crash into my headlamp on my forehead here, or some kind of big bug. It kept flying away. This is my meter for the series battery. So now we're at 39.42 volts. So let's go ahead and see if that works. And then I'll run it for a while. When the scooter slows down, I'll go ahead and add this back in there. And this is, I think the reason this is happening is because I don't have a way of regulating the speed of the scooter. And that's because I literally am just using a light switch that's made to turn on and off. And a light switch that's made to turn on and off, and it's not giving me a variable speed, and I'm not sure how to control the speed when in a circuit like this where I'm just having one positive wire. There's not a positive and a negative, it's just a positive going through the motor. So the positive of the series batteries, which is this battery here, this is the white wire is the positive of the series batteries going through the motor, and they connect it to the positive of the parallel batteries. And I'm not sure how to slow the speed down or speed it up when there's just one wire with no negative. It's just a positive wire. connecting two sets of batteries together, positive to positive. So I'm looking into that, and maybe I can do some more testing with different ideas. But let's see how this does. Let's see if if the circuit will work this way. I mean, if my light switch is working again. Okay, so you know what I'll do with this battery? I think what I'll do with this battery I just disconnected is I'll go ahead and hook up my DC to AC converter so that I can put some power back into my phone to keep the stream going. So that worked out. That could actually work out as a big plus. Let's see how that goes. This is very good. Yeah, okay, we got that. Let me power up the DC to AC converter. I got my plug for my phone here. Okay, so it's all working out. And we are charging. Okay, so it looks like we're back on the road here. Let's go ahead and try this now. Okay, the scooter's slowing down a little, so I think I'll add the fourth battery in series now and see if my switch and everything can handle that. Before my on and off switch, which is my power switch, that interrupts the circuit. When I was running, oops, I have to turn this off and unplug my phone. So the switch, when I ran the 48 volts through the switch just the last time, recently, in the video, it melted my switch a little bit, but it was able to still be used. So at first it got stuck in the on position, and then I just turned it on and off a couple times, and it broke loose. It was kind of stuck, and I was able to reuse it. So right now, let's go ahead and connect. All I'm going to do is take my negative from the parallel batteries. And put it here on this battery. So we're adding this battery to the circuit right now, just to give me more voltage. I just had it disconnected earlier because I wanted to bring the voltage down a little bit. This is just for the purpose of my wire bed. My wires are very thin, so I don't want to run too much power through them. So once I got the voltage down by running the scooter for a little bit, I can now, I might be able to now use it again, use this fourth battery in series, giving us approximately 48 volts. Negative to positive in series. And hopefully my switch can handle that. Let's see if it works still. Yep. Okay, so let's see if that gives us a little more power right now. Average voltage of the batteries in parallel, 12.46. Voltage of the batteries in series, which is 4 batteries in series, 49.67. Okay, let's see how it goes. I keep forgetting to put my kickstand up. I need to make sure I do that. Okay, my kickstand is up. So definitely the higher voltage is too much for the switch, for my on and off switch, which is how I'm controlling the scooter, because it just it got stuck on again. Oh, it's really stuck. Wow. Okay, I unstuck it. Let's see if that works. I just kept pushing it. Oh, not working. So it looks like it's broken. Okay, let me try something else. Let's just thinking what I can do here to make a simple on and off switch to be able to continue wiring the scooter. Because my on and off switch is not working. I have an idea. I'm going to bypass the switch. And I'll just touch, I'm just going to, so where the switch is wired, I'm just going to touch this to complete the circuit. I'll just touch it. And that's how I'll control the completion of the circuit so I can continue riding the scooter. Because I don't want to have to reach way down here to the batteries and keep lifting this on and off to complete the circuit. So if I can do it up by where my hand is holding the handlebars, the control steering up here, I think that'll be easier for me. So let me try that. I just hope my wires can handle this. Okay, so here's, I don't know if you can see this, here's the wire. There it is. I'm just touching this to complete the circuit up here. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, it's a big spot. I'm going to get this going. So, just so I can show you the wire here. Actually, I'll take the camera off so you can see what I was doing here. So you can see what I was, oops. Okay. So what I was doing, so you can see, is, so the switch went out here. The switch stopped working. I don't know if you can see that, how it's kind of turned a little black in there. I don't know if that shows on camera. I don't know if you can see that. Well, anyway, the switch stopped working, and I can show you. Well, so yeah, so look. This is where the switch is connected, and when I turn the switch, nothing happens. So it just burned out. So I connected this to one side, and I was using this. You can see I was just touching it on there. That's how I got back. I was actually touching it on this, right here. I just kept touching this wire to complete the circuit, and that's how I got back. So, back to my destination. I'm just going to show you, I'm lifting the wheel up so I can show you how it works. So I was just holding the handlebar, and I was touching like that. And it'll do the same thing if I touch it here. Just completing the circuit. So on one side, this is one wire, this is our splitting the positive. I mean, this is the splitting the positive wire. On one side of this wire connects to the 4 batteries that are in series, and the other side of this wire connects to the 4 batteries in parallel, and that wire goes through this switch, which I put on there just so I can control if the circuit's complete or not, so I can ride the scooter. And on the other side, and then it also goes through the motor, and that's what makes the motor work. But the switch went out, as you can see. It's just not working at all. So that's when I hooked up the 48 volts to it, it was too much for it. Okay. This is where the phone was mounted on this. And this is just a DC to AC power inverter that allows me to keep the phone charged so when I'm streaming. And I had that hooked up some of the time, but not right now. I had it unhooked because I was trying to use all the batteries for this. So right now our ending voltage on the batteries in parallel is 12.55, but those aren't fully charged yet. We were still charging them with these batteries. I was still sending the power over. Rick Friedrich shows wiring 2 batteries in series at 24 volts and charging 2 batteries in parallel at 12 volts. And I don't know if it's okay right at this time. I don't know if it's okay to go higher in the voltage. It seems like it worked well so far, so I'm going to keep experimenting with that. Rick Friedrich did mention that on the charging side, the batteries that are charging, you can go up to 300 volts. But I don't know if that's only when you use the pulse motor that they sell. Rick Friedrich has a website, and you can buy the pulse motor on there. We haven't done that yet. He had mentioned that there was a motor that they were going to possibly make a motor for a scooter at one point, so I don't know if those are already available, but if they are, it would be nice to put one on this scooter. Okay, everyone, this is just other experiments here. Alternators, motor generator. This is our drive motor though, that we're running through the circuit right now. So here's the white wires connecting to, okay, so these wires go to this. These go to the switch. They go up to the switch here. So those wires just connect the two sets of batteries together. And this is the positive wire from the two sets of batteries that connects them together, goes through the motor, and that allows the video. Have a great day. Bye.